Okay, you guys ready? Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Mia Libby. I am the head of tech and enterprise advertising at the Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones. I'm thrilled to be here today to have this really interesting conversation, which, you know, when I tell a lot of people that I'm hosting this conversation, they're like, oh my God, I didn't even think about this. I didn't even think about the long tail impact of GLP-1s and how they are changing consumer behavior and how brands are going to have to start really thinking about how to change their brands as a result. And so we have an amazing panel here today. I'll introduce everyone. We have Mary Rochelle Stump, who's the head of U.S. Sales East Coast for Connective Media by United Airlines. Thanks for joining us. We have Chloe DePeace, the EVP, Head of Digital Strategy at Havas Now. We have Brian Robinson, who's our Global Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Growth for the GLP-1 consultancy here at Havas. And we have Rick Lloyd, who's the founder of Range Health Advisors. He spent 20 years with Novartis, leading consumer health and pharmaceutical organizations. So we have an amazing panel here to talk about the drugs themselves, the trends that we're seeing, and really how we're seeing trends across multiple sectors shift and change. And I think it's really interesting that we're doing this here at CES, where you think about the types of innovations that we're here to see are technology innovations, but this innovation, GLP-1s, this is rapidly changing the world. It's changing consumer behavior. It's changing the way that people are living. It's changing the way that they are consuming multiple facets of their life. And so this is a really relevant conversation, and hats off to Havas for sort of recognizing this moment and being real consultants and blazing this trail. So I think it's a good place to start here would be with you, Rick. You told me a story about your sister and how her life has been changed by GLP-1. So why don't you kick things off and tell us about her?
Sounds great. My sister, Debbie, is one of the most caring people, always caring for other people that I know in the world. She's been an ER nurse for the past 30 years in the same busy ER. She developed gestational diabetes when her first son was born. And over time, that progressed to multiple conditions. And she was put on a GLP-1 about 18 months ago, and the results have been amazing. She's off all of those chronic medications that she was on, besides the GLP-1. She lost 75 pounds, more than a third of her body weight. Just incredible clinical outcomes. And it's also had impact on her consumption and consumer behaviors. Bought a lot more clothes, lost 8 clothing sizes, bought some more GI medicines to manage some of the side effects associated with the medicine. Less food. Not only did she say her grocery bills have gone down, but she splits meals almost every time that she goes out to eat now. And obviously looks for more protein and different types of things. And is drinking less alcohol as well, and different types of alcohol, not the sweet wine anymore. Yeah. And so really changed her outlook, her attitude, and her life experience in a positive way.
And I think probably many people in this room know someone like that, someone or many people who are on it and have sort of experienced this major change in their life, not just from a clinical perspective, but from a consumption perspective and maybe even from a happiness perspective. So Brian, I'm going to kick it over to you. Blow our minds from a stats perspective. How many people are going to be on this thing? How many people are on it now? Like, tell us about this. Give us some stats on this rapid growth.
I feel like in Vegas, I got to do more. Blow your mind, I got to do even more. So we'll do more at the casino maybe later on. Let me just start by saying I love that story, Rick. And that's what this is all about, like changing people's lives. Right now, the best estimates are between 9 and 11% of Americans are on GLP-1s, which is really significant. Now, that is to be fair, that is split between those using it for type 2 diabetes and those using it for obesity. So that's not fully starting from zero with obesity, since the indications, these brands were launched for obesity. But it's still a very significant number, and projections have the overall market size globally to be upwards of 500 billion by 2035, which is in Vegas terms even then massive.
Yeah.
It's really big, and you know what's fueling that? We have a worldwide epidemic of obesity, right? So right now, approximately 1 billion people worldwide are obese. By 2035, that figure is going to be about 8.3 billion, and that include children as young as 5 years old, included in that. And that is a combination of clinically obese and just people simply overweight. So yeah, it's a very sizable market, and that's why there's so much energy behind this right now.
And can you talk a little bit about sort of how quickly this has taken hold and how quickly people have adopted this medicine? I mean, just a couple of years ago, this was really just a drug for people who had diabetes. So can you talk a little bit about the speed?
Yeah, so great point. I mean, obesity, you know, like Rick's story is so interesting because it in a nutshell, it's articulated a person that has struggled with weight for so long, and not only has it helped to largely resolve the weight condition, but so many other conditions. Weight is so central to health, and that's one thing we always need to take a pause and think about is how important people's weight are and how much time people think about their weight. Yeah. So it's something that is ubiquitous. It's omnipresent in so many people's lives. And if you've never dealt with weight, like my mother is very thin, she's petite, and she could never really comprehend that, like my sister and I all the time growing up had to deal with weight issues. She said, stop eating. I'm like, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
And, you know, the cake looks so good. How am I supposed to not have that? So, you know, for people who can't associate it, it seems like this enigma. Why is this such a big deal? It's such a big deal because, again, we're dealing with this massive problem that is not just an American problem, it's a worldwide problem. It's so central to health. It's central to culture, right? People want to look good. We live in a society of social media. People are showing up in the way they want to be perceived. So, you know, one of the main behavior changes we look at is how people are becoming, you know, similar to Rick's sister's story, extroverted, right? They are showing up in social media. They're spending money on clothing. Now, I'm a New Yorker by birth, which means that Seinfeld taught me many of my life lessons. So I'm going to refer to Seinfeld here. So that is, you remember the episode where George swears off sex and he says, okay, I'm not going to have sex anymore. Well, all the sex noise went away and he learned 3 languages. He started coaching the Yankees on how to be better batters. It was brilliant. And then he had sex and he got dumb again. He became George again. So what does it mean? People cope with food noise their whole lives. And all of a sudden, that food noise gets silenced and they become capable of so much more. So, you know, just again, you know, we could go on about this. This is a big thing, why this is so big, why it's growing so fast, but it's opening up a whole new world for people because, you know, weight is the trigger why people go on a GLP-1, right?
Yes.
But that's not the goal. The weight reduction alone is not the goal. The goal is to be a better version of themselves.
To live a better
to
life,
create
yeah.
a better world for themselves. And, you know, when you hear these incredible stories of people's worlds change, and, you know, there are certain companies out there that appropriately aren't really referring to this solely as a GLP-1 thing. They're referring it to as a rapid weight loss thing because the speed at which people are losing weight, doesn't work the same for everybody, but a lot of people are losing a lot of weight fast. Yeah. So it's this sense of rapid transformation is also a major driver, and it's so visible.
And that's a great segue into your business, MR, and the sort of Herculean task that United has to identify new trends in travel and then sort of pivot very quickly into these new trends. So tell us a little bit about new travel trends that you're seeing and how United has sort of met that moment to provide the best possible experience for its consumers.
Absolutely. So the global travel industry is a $2 billion or $2 trillion industry. And United particularly, we are not only the largest global airline now, but we are hitting record-breaking numbers. We're coming off of the biggest July 4th weekend, the biggest December. In December alone, we had over 550,000 passengers traveling every month. So double-digit growth, and much of that is fueled by these first-time travelers, these next-generation travelers. So in addition to these moments, these experiences that new populations are looking for, we're seeing the motivation for travel change. It's not just about the destination. The journey doesn't start when you land and get off the plane. It starts when you leave the house. And we've been seeing real excitement and interest in adventure travel, these experiences that are more deeply rooted in connecting to self-discovery, connecting to your family, connecting to cultures around the world that are not just the landmarks that you see in traditional photos, but this growth and excitement around discovering new areas of the world, that touches all parts of our business. So again, when we are the largest, we're serving over half of the US adult population. We are adapting, we're pivoting. We just announced our new network and a number of new flights to exciting places like Greenland and Mongolia. These are physically demanding destinations. Yeah. It's not just a beach trip. So the fact that people are now able to explore in a way that was never possible for them before because they are healthy, they have these new active lifestyles, that's really exciting. And I think that the adventure travel trend is going to continue into the new year. Trends for travel that feed adrenaline, that are leaning into passion points, these are going to continue, and I think that it's opening up opportunities for brands and verticals to lean in and help make that happen.
So health and even longevity are sort of are really at the crux of a lot of what we're talking about here. And Chloe, one marketing trend we're seeing here at CES is health really taking center stage, and we've seen that for years. But I'm curious how you see GLP-1 sort of really fueling that, being that we're here talking about this maybe for the first time.
Yes, absolutely. So first off, you're totally right. The digital health space keeps growing and growing year on year, which is a nice, I think, testament to one of our big beliefs at Havas, which is that every brand is a health brand. So it's really taking over a lot of even the consumer space. With that being said, are GLP-1 fueling this growth? I do think so. In specifically in that, as Brian said earlier, about 10% of the US population is currently taking a GLP-1 drug, which is creating a whole new ecosystem of GLP-1 focused innovations that are being created to meet the new needs of those GLP-1 users. So from full assistance from the start of their journey through like new weight loss concierge or digital health platforms that are going to hold your hand through a virtual consultations, to the prescriptions, to checking in with you, to side effect management, to nutrition and fitness coaching, etc. So you've got Ro, you've got Noom, you've got all these new digital health players that are really making an impact on the field. I've seen a lot of innovations in terms of nutritions and supplements. So you've got a company like Lamy, the Kardashian company, Codich, Sowell, that are introducing all sorts of supplements, whether that's protein supplements, collagen, vitamins, to complement the new needs of GLP-1 users. You've got a lot of innovations in food and beverage and packaging. So yes, we're definitely seeing a lot of innovations fueled by the GLP-1 revolution.
And Rick, I have a question for you, but go ahead.
Well, I was just going to jump in and make an analogy to, and just why I think it's relevant to talk about GLP-1s here.
Yeah.
Because if you think about this, it's so much bigger than just a new class of medicines. It's so much bigger than just a larger population changing behaviors. It goes against every trend in the pharmaceutical industry, which today is about treating smaller and smaller patient populations with more focused medicines. That's most of what's happening. You're looking for a particular mutation or biomarker that you want to treat in order to improve patients' lives. This is one mechanism that we're finding works in diabetes, it works in obesity, heart disease, sleep apnea. These are the approved indications. it's being looked at across many more indications. So from a pharmaceutical perspective, it's much bigger. And almost every study has been successful so far. From a consumer or a services perspective, it's a lot faster because trends typically play out in those segments over decades or a decade. Wellness led to double-digit growth in vitamins, minerals, and supplements, and that was a big trend over a decade.
Yeah.
But, you put those two differences together and you have something that looks more like technology changes. And it's more like AI. It's more like a new iPhone because it doesn't just touch one part of a person's life. It can open up and change so many different parts. It's just not simple.
And I think that's probably what makes this so unique, because it has, there's a way in, but then it has an impact across so many different behaviors and feelings. Chloe, I want to go back to you and hear a little bit your perspective on how the creator economy has been a part of this rise. And I'd like to talk a little bit about, from a social media perspective, the stigma around these drugs. The last time I did one of these panels with Havas, someone made an amazing point. Early on when Match.com launched, it was sort of, people didn't want to say that they met their spouse or their boyfriend, their girlfriend on Match.com. They sort of told stories about that. And now that's the way everybody meets everybody. So the stigma is gone. But that took a while. Maybe it took a decade. The stigma seems to really be gone around taking GLP-1s. And how do you think the creator economy is sort of a part of that?
Not only is it gone, but people are actually now proud and empowered.
Yes.
It's almost like a signal of women or all genders empowerment of like, I'm taking control of my health. I got this. I'm going to be another person. So I think, to come back to the broader question about, is the creator economy benefiting from, or GLP-1s benefiting from the creator economy? I'd say it's nuanced, yes and no. Yes, in the fact that the creator economy is helping raise awareness of the product. It's helping trigger the right, public conversations online. It's helping educate on the project. It's bringing it to the cultural forefront and then the cultural zeitgeist. You've seen, across the Ozempic face and the Golden Globe saying this is Ozempic biggest night. So it's bringing it to the cultural forefront. It's helping drive business impact. So it's got a lot of benefits, but we're also seeing a few drawbacks or limitations to the creator economy in the GLP-1 conversation, which is misinformation, confusion. There's a lot of just general public doing GLP-1 and sometimes compounded GLP-1s at home and communicating information that's personal beliefs and totally respectful. But a lot of non-informed or disinformed people are taking it for granted. So misinformation, confusion is a big problem in the GLP-1 social landscape, which we have set to solve at Havas GLP-1 Consultancy because we identified that as a problem from the beginning. You had consumers that had to choose between scientific accuracy and sensational, and we thought that's not okay. We shouldn't have to as a consumer, I shouldn't have to choose between this type of information. And we in the consultancy, as not only sort of expert on the subject matter, but also experts in content production, went about solving this problem. We created we launched it yesterday at CES, at least. It's been online for a few days. A whole creator series that's called Shapeshifting that's really meant to educate people on the subject while doing so with empathy, authenticity, humanity, which is the best of both worlds, in our opinion.
Yeah, and Rick, I'd love your perspective on something we've talked about is how do we sort of bridge the gap between the moment where we can sort of service people who want to take these drugs, and then sort of the other side of the coin where people are saying, okay, there's an opportunity here. How do you foresee a future where we bring these things together and are sort of treating the whole person or the whole patient, from the weight loss to the maintenance to the healthy lifestyle?
I think right now, a lot of the effort companies are undertaking are focused on their particular product, their particular category. And I think it's really important to turn it around and focus on the whole person, the whole consumer, the whole patient. And, what does that look like in the end? I'm not sure, but that's the direction it needs to go. Pharmaceutical companies know who many of these people are because they join their patient support programs, whether it's for financial assistance or other reasons. So they know who they are. Consumer companies, service companies do a better job of uncovering deep insights than pharmaceutical companies do.
Yeah.
But, so is it going to be the pharmaceutical patient support program that helps? Is it going to be tech companies that are coming in and trying to fill that gap? A company like Noom, that's going to provide more of a service across different areas. And so I think each company needs to look at their individual area for insights, but needs to look at that entire consumer journey.
Yes.
And I really think there will be solutions. I don't know if it's Noom, if it's something we haven't talked about, if it's Amazon, if it's Sam's Club, I don't know what it is, but there's going to be, someone who steps up and says, I want to help the consumer in multiple areas.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to happen in a meaningful way.
And MR, I think this is something that United is really trying to do. You're thinking about the whole traveler, right? And you said the journey doesn't start when you land at your destination. It starts when you step on that plane. And so how have you guys thought about the whole person or the whole traveler? Tell us about, I know a lot of the work that you guys have done is with new partnerships to try and make that whole experience really special. Tell us a little bit about how you think about, because to Rick's point, you guys understand your consumer really well. So how are you thinking about the whole traveler and giving them the best experience?
Absolutely. So regardless of their mission or the moment or the journey that they're seeking, our aim is to elevate the experience at every single touch point. The health and wellness experience and the resources and the amenities that travelers need to make their experience wonderful when they're traveling or in our airports. We've collaborated and fostered partnerships with other brands that complement what we bring to the table. Thinking about our partnership with Therabody, we have curated wellness centers in the United Clubs, for example, for massages. We're collaborating with different business services to help make business, more seamless while on the road. And we're looking at bringing on new products and collaborating with other third-party brands that bring something to the table that serves these needs of these new populations. And we're really excited to lean in, here we are at CES, leaning in and taking advantage of a lot of the MarTech and the digital ad technology too, to connect our consumer journey in a way that allows for brands to anticipate the needs of specific individuals, target them in a way that makes an impact and connects and allows them to engage in a really meaningful way. And those are some of the things that we're really excited to scale as we look at the new year.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to have to wrap now. Thank you guys so much for joining. Like I said, I think this is an underserved topic, an incredibly interesting one that we should probably come back next year and have the same conversation. I'm sure everything will be different. Thank you guys all for your unique insights, and thanks for everyone attending.